Welcome to the Connecting to Reimagine webinar. Today we are going to talk about a topic that is very dear to us. Over time, GFLEC has done a lot of research documenting the importance of financial literacy, in particular for young people. And today we are going to examine the experience of a country that has made financial education mandatory in school. I am delighted to have here today the Minister of Education, Dr. Tiago Rodrigues, and also Maria Lúcia Leitão, which is the head of the Coordination Committee for the Portuguese National Plan for Financial Education. We are very happy that you could join us today. And Minister, I'm going to start with you. If you can describe the path that has led to have financial education in school and have a mandate for financial education in school in Portugal, and what were the obstacles that you had to overcome?
Well, good afternoon, good morning, good night, because I'm sure that we have people following us all over the globe. But of course, I'd like to thank GFLEC for the invitation, for the fact that Portugal is highlighted today in today's seminar. And of course, thank you so much, Annamaria Lusardi, for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to be with you and to learn with you. You are one of the academics that show us also the way that we should act as decision makers. And of course, I would like also to thank Maria Lúcia Leitão, because internally she's one of us that is also pushing the decision makers and the institutions to try to do it better. But to try to describe the path that led to this financial education in school, I can briefly tell you a little bit about our internal history. Financial education was approached by schools traditionally on a kind of ad hoc approach. And during the 2007, 2008, 2009 financial crisis, we assisted to a very lively discussion about the importance of educating citizens to manage their money from a very early young age. And in what concerns specifically about financial education and also financial literacy, the crisis might have helped overcoming obstacles in considering financial education, an area that traditionally was not included in the curricula as a relevant topic to be approached systematically within our schools. Then, if we look to the beginning of the last decade, financial education firstly appeared in the curriculum around 2012 in the form of projects, initiatives that contribute to the students' personal and social growth. And that in a similar way, we have other topics related with the environment, related with sexual education, related with health education, but and we have those topics, those projects, those initiatives entering the curriculum around 2012. But it was a kind of cross-curricular and of optional attendance. But in 2013, a core competencies for financial education framework was developed, covering all levels of education, from kindergarten to upper secondary education, including adult learning and training. And that was a key factor. But this framework, elaborated or organized by my ministry in collaboration with the Bank of Portugal and also other entities, helped teachers to provide students the needed understanding of basic concepts of financial literacy. And then we participated in the PISA 2018 financial literacy model, and the results placed Portugal students in the 6th place worldwide concerning their basic financial skills. And I think at that time I was already Minister of Education. This was a kind of incentive for schools to approach this area more systematically and to create the conviction of how relevant it is for our students to acquire knowledge about finance and to develop behaviors and attitudes, values towards an adequate and healthy relationship with money. And financial education, and more precisely financial education and consumer education, became mandatory in 2018. We have decided, using also a set of curricular changes, to implement through the National Strategic for Citizenship Education. And financial literacy and also consumer education enable young people to acquire and to develop fundamental knowledge and skills for the decisions they have to make about their personal finances, not just in the moment, but also in the future, enabling them as citizens, as consumers, and of course, as consumers of financial products and services, to deal with the increasing complexity of financial contexts and the instruments. And I've been in many schools where I had the opportunity to observe, and it's quite impressive to see very young children starting to perceive how important is financial education. And in a broader perspective, it is intended to provide information that supports better individual choice options, contributing also to student solidarity and responsible behavior as consumers. And as I told you, this topic must be addressed mandatorily in upper primary and lower secondary education curriculum, reaching students approximately from 10 to 15 years old. And in the upper secondary education, it's an optional topic. And more recently, in 2019, we developed a framework for consumer education, also covering the 12 years of mandatory schooling. And basically, this is the way that we progressed, and it's extremely important right now that we have these tools in our school, and both the financial literacy and also the consumer education are supported by the national plan that we have for financial education and the guiding principle for financial education initiatives. And both approaches also helped us in the way that we developed our national strategy.
Thank you very much. I'm going to turn now to Lucia, because I imagine that also the coordination committee and the national plan had done quite a bit of work and also participated to this objective. Can you tell us more about what's the role that the committee played for having financial literacy in school?
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for the invitation to be here with the Minister. Thank you, Minister, for being here today as well. And good day to you all. It's my great pleasure to mention that I'm honored to share the coordinating committee of Portuguese National Strategy, since the national strategy, which we call in Portugal the National Plan for Financial Education, was launched in 2011 by the three financial supervisory authorities. The national plan, meaning the National Strategy for Financial Education, is led by the Banco de Portugal, the Central Bank, the Capital Markets Commission, and the Insurance and Pension Fund Supervisory Authority. It's a joint effort since 2011. And it's very important to mention that since its inception, since beginning of the national plan, obviously these three financial supervisory authorities working within the framework of National Council of Financial Supervisors appointed three representatives from each of these authorities for the daily management and implementation of national strategy. And it's why I am a member of this coordinating committee, sharing it since then. But most important to mention today, I think, is that the national plan, the national strategy, when it was launched, it acknowledged from the start that financial education in schools was a top priority. Mm-hmm. Actually, even before the plan was launched, the Ministry of Education had asked for the support of the national supervisory authorities, the free supervisory authorities, because as the minister just said, at the time there was already some ad hoc initiatives, and the Ministry of Education decided it was important to have a consistent approach. And the consistent approach was meant to have a medium and long-term strategy. And that's what we did with Ministry of Education in a very close partnership and with support of the different departments of Ministry of Education. We started working on the definition of a medium-term strategy. And let me emphasize some of the most important achievements. One was already mentioned by the Ministry of Education, was undertaken during 2012 and approved in 2014. And it's the core competencies for financial education in schools. But at the same time, we also acknowledge that it was very, very important to engage teachers, to motivate teachers. And then in 2012, we decided, supervisory authorities, to award prizes to best projects addressing financial literacy issues in schools. And since then, we have been awarding prizes. Each year, we award 6 prizes, 5 according to each degree or each level of education, and also a prize to a teacher. But obviously, having core competencies to be a framework to implement financial literacy in schools, it was also important to train the teachers. And here again, with support of Ministry of Education, we have been working with the Ministry of Education at training the teachers. Staff of free supervisory authorities have been engaged, and they have been certified to teach and to train these teachers. And we have been conducting courses all along the country to train these teachers through certified courses. But at the same time, we think that it was important to prepare specific materials, publications. And since 2015, we have been publishing, again, with Ministry of Education, and also here with support of the 4 most important financial associations, we have been producing specific workbooks, financial education workbooks for each grade, obviously backed by the core competencies, which means we have implemented different steps to be able to have the financial education being an important issue addressed by teachers, and obviously always engaging them with support, the importance and strong support of Ministry of Education.
Thank you very much. And I want to continue on this because it's clear that the details of the implementation are so important for making financial education successful. So I come back to you, Minister Brandão Rodrigues, and can you tell us a little bit about the details? In other words, is financial education taught across different courses? You know, what are the requirements? How about the teachers? You know, what were the details in the implementation, and you know, and in a sense, what do you think made it successful?
Okay, financial education and literacy is a topic from preschool to upper secondary school education, as I told you in the first answer. But the current curricular design that we have in Portugal, we have started it in the school year 2018-2019, is linked to a set of different core documents. And in these core documents, we have values, we have skills, and we have knowledge that we want to have. And one of them is the student's profile by the end of the compulsory schooling. The other one is the national strategy for citizenship education. And this within this national strategy that we have financial education. And these several components and subjects, or these different components, are the ones where we can work to have the financial education. But of course, we have a citizen education and development subject where we mostly speak about financial education, but financial education is also treated along the different subjects of the curriculum, allowing a great degree of curriculum flexibility. But the competences area defined in the scope of the student's profile make it possible for different knowledge areas to come together in a kind of cross-curricular themes, facilitating the integration of financial literacy and consumer education in all levels of education. But specifically, the 2018 National Strategy for Citizenship Education, regulated by a specific law that introduces this curricular flexibility through the curricular component, as I told you, citizenship and development, contributes to learn and to teach this specific area. And have a tremendous impact in the individual civic attitudes, in the students' social and intercultural relationships, and fosters the development of competences for democratic culture. And within this curricular component, that is a subject called citizenship and development, that is transversal throughout compulsory schooling, we have a specific and mandatory subject in upper primary and lower secondary education, as I already told you, called financial literacy and consumer education. And within this subject, we have this topic. And of course, it's extremely important for us that it is mandatory. It's extremely important that mainly during the years that they have this subject, they learn about this specific topic. And for example, in the lower primary school, in the kindergarten, and in the secondary, upper secondary education, where they don't have this subject, the topic related to financial education is covered within the other subjects. But it's extremely important that, supported by the National Plan for Financial Education and the guiding principles that I told you for financial education initiatives, we have been able to train teachers since 2011 in partnership with the financial supervisors. And according to this, we are also promoting professional learning in building teachers' capacity to implement financial literacy education effectively and with confidence, because it's extremely important that they are able to appropriate themselves these concepts and the added value of financial education. And we have also created, as already mentioned, a set of pedagogical support materials for teachers and students, for which I would like to highlight the financial education workbooks covering all the school levels from primary to lower secondary education. And these materials are also available in English and can, of course, be shared. And if you allow me to say, I think that they can be very useful, because at least they are very useful within our schools.
You have already anticipated some of the questions actually that I see coming through, which is this material in English? And so I wanted to say that a lot of material is in English. And at this point, I would like to also say, please translate as much as possible, because I think there is a lot of interest in this. And this is wonderful. And so, Lucia, I'm turning to you and say, I see that also the central bank is doing a lot of initiative in schools, and I've read your reports. And so both the coordinating committee and the central bank itself has done a lot of work to help this financial education in school. Can you highlight potentially some of the initiatives that, for example, other countries as well could be doing?
Yes, actually, the central bank is very much committed to financial education. We consider financial education a pillar of financial consumer protection, as the Central Bank of Portugal has a mandate on banking conduct supervision, then we are working obviously to increase the capability of financial consumers, and at the same time we work as regulators and supervisors. But we consider, as I said, financial literacy as being a very important pillar of our comprehensive approach to financial consumer protection. And since 2010-11, we have decided, obviously, to join efforts with other two financial supervisory authorities to promote financial literacy initiatives, and obviously in what refers to schools with Ministry of Education. But we are not alone. We have other stakeholders. Some of them I mentioned already are financial associations, and we have other stakeholders I would like to mention, but there are so many that I would like to invite you to go to our list of stakeholders to be aware of the name of all of them, but they are all very important. But the national plan is conceived in Portugal as also a hub of different initiatives. And although the three financial supervisory authorities that implement common projects, we work on our own on also different projects. And in case of Bank of Portugal, we are very lucky because we have a network of branches covering all country, and we get the support of our network of branches to work also very closely in schools, and we support all around the country initiatives locally with support of our network of branches. But at the same time, we also promote initiatives, and let me acknowledge that one important point of our strategy is to motivate, to engage teachers and students. That's why we also conduct lots of awareness campaigns and awareness sessions, and we go to schools and we accept the invitation from schools to promote financial literacy initiatives in schools. And Bank of Portugal is always ready to do that. And they've been crossing around the country, now not moving around the country, but through webinars. And we have been very actively recently to promote digital financial literacy in schools. And I think that's quite an important topic for the years to come, because namely in secondary schools, in what we call upper secondary, students, they are tech savvy and they use more and more digital devices. It's very important to promote also digital financial literacy
in school. Absolutely. I'm going to already start asking a question that I also wanted to ask, but so many people are also asking, which is, if you had to provide recommendations for other countries that wanted to implement financial education in school, what would this recommendation be? And I'm going to ask, to both of you, but let me start with you, Minister.
Well, to be sincere, most or some countries, they have very good educational policies about this, but we know that the importance of financial literacy is not seen all over the world. So I think that firstly, the recognition of the importance of financial literacy in shape independent citizens capable of managing their own lives in a sustainable manner, making informed and conscious choices, is one of the most important recommendations, if you allow me. And education cannot be strange to any important dimension of citizenship, since it forges citizens since their earliest stage. Secondly, in terms of curricula, it's extremely important that you are able to give flexibility and autonomy to schools. Based on the premise that learning needs to be taught in terms of competence development and acquisition, shaping good schools, good workers, and good citizens. So give to the schools autonomy and flexibility. On the other hand, it's extremely important that we can recognize that citizenship in today's world implies also technical knowledge in several areas, including concepts of finance, but it also implies a critical sense, ability to challenge institutions, and the search for creative solutions and the knowledge of duties and rights, among other features. So it's extremely important. And the shift that we have allows to look at the curriculum as a dynamic and flexible structure capable of taking in other areas of knowledge besides the traditional ones, relevant to prepare students for a full integration in a kind of 21st century reality. And financial education, of course, is certainly one of those areas. But I think that we proved that it's possible to bring financial education into schools without a revolution in the curricula. And schools, and also in the schools teaching and learning system. So we are able to make a change without a revolution. And I would like to share with you, if you allow me, 2 initiatives that we have in our schools related to financial literacy. One of them is the competition Todos Contam, Everyone Counts, that my colleague of panel already spoke. So I'm going to speak about another one, the school's participatory budget. So we give, as Minister of Education, a budget, an additional budget to schools, and we have the students deciding about this budget, where to spend the money. So we engage students in this process, and with that, our students and also the entire school community learn what is a budget, how to plan spending, how to prioritize revenues and expenses, how, for example, to demand results, and how to monitor the implementation of their ideas. And not less important, they learn how to advocate in favor of the ideas they are the authors of. And of course, they need to campaign, and of course, they need to implement, and then they need to monitor how the direction of the school is implementing their ideas. So I think that this school's participatory budget acknowledges the young people's rights to be involved in community life. And on the other hand, it also recognizes the need of innovative actions to assure this right, reinforcing also their skills, their trust, and their participation in the democratic institutions. And with the small approaches like these ones, we are able to change the entire mentality of a school's community.
This is great. Lucia, what do you think? What are your recommendations in addition to these ones?
If you allow me, I would say that, first of all, the recommendation is to have the Ministry of Education supporting financial literacy in schools. This is the first.
Right.
So if you allow me, being Minister of Education, look for the best partners. And the fact that the Ministry of Education is surrounded itself with partners that are specialized in this area, like the Bank of Portugal, or, for example, we have other partners like the Portuguese Securities Market Commission and the Portuguese Insurance and Pension Fund Supervisor Authority. With that, it's much easier to implement, to establish financial education in schools. So I think that these bridges are extremely important.
Okay, thank you, Minister. But let me add that in my perspective, and as Minister said, it's very important to have a medium-term strategy, a very comprehensive strategy. We cannot implement financial literacy in schools from night to day, or one day to another. It takes time. Then we need to have a gradual approach. And looking back to 2010, 2011, and now we can show, and we have behind us already important steps being undertaken. And as Minister said, we have to, my recommendation would be, we have to start by the core competencies. It's very important to define what we mean by financial literacy, first of all. And we decide to adopt the concept of INFI, the International Network for Financial Education, which includes attitudes, behaviors, and financial information, which, for instance, allows us to approach the kindergarten, where it's the best moment to start teaching attitudes, wishes, and needs, and things like that. Meaning, it's important to have the core competencies and to consider all the different subjects according to the age and the level, obviously, of the school level. And at the same time, it's very, very important to engage, to have the teachers motivated, to have the teachers engaged, and to give them all they need, training and materials. Because if it's mandatory, but if you don't have the teachers trained, motivated, and if they do not have materials, it's much more difficult for them to implement financial literacy. Meaning, looking back to what we did so far and thinking that we need to do much more in the future, I think we need to go on always thinking that this is a medium-term project, but we need every year to make another important step. And this is what we are aiming at. Every year with Ministry of Education, we try to raise our standards, and we try to implement new projects supporting teachers, students, motivating them, engaging them, even when it's optional. We engage them with games, we engage them with prizes, we engage them with initiatives. And this is the most important. This is this comprehensive approach, and all stakeholders, because it's not only the financial supervisors, it's financial associations, the consumer protection associations, and obviously other foundations. We have lots of entities, according obviously to the core principles approved in 2012. Those that follow those core principles, they can join us in these projects, and we can, and we do actually disclose all these initiatives in our website, our Todos Contam website. Todos Contam is our brand, and there schools can see what other schools are doing, materials that other schools are producing, meaning it's like a puzzle. Every piece matters to achieve this goal, financial literacy, to increase youth capability to deal with financial issues.
Thank you very much. I think I would like to summarize actually these important points that you have made. Please.
If you allow me, because I think that this is extremely important. The contribute from the enlarged school community was crucial, with the involvement and the support of teachers, of course, parents. They are crucial in this process, and of course, civil society. And with that, we can make bigger steps, and we can, without any kind of doubt, make the difference. And as we all told, without all these actors, it's impossible to progress in the same way. With all these actors, things collectively can change also in this area.
Thank you very much. I'm going to add this point in a moment. And so I think I want to mention the point you have made so that everyone can hear loud and clear, right, what they can do. Following the example of Portugal, to have financial education in school. And it seems to me that we all can now harness the power of a financial crisis. So, you know, the crisis before in 2008 has told us how important financial literacy is. The crisis now, I think, has told that even more how it is. We need to have a comprehensive medium-term strategy, starting with the definition of the core competencies and also awareness campaign. That seems very important. Have this financial literacy across the curriculum, so transversal and with a lot of flexibility and autonomy. And teachers are important. You have to train the teachers. And finally, in the same way it takes a village to raise a child, I think it takes a village also to have financial education in school, and everybody can contribute, and working together seems to be critically important to have financial education in school. And it seems to me this is not mission impossible. that it can be done and so many can do. And I have to say, so many people are coming in and asking us, where they can get the information. They are going to look at your website and so on. I want to turn to another question that was asked here, which is, have you done any impact evaluation? Has there been, or is there a plan to also evaluate the effectiveness? What are some of the initial results about financial education in school? Who would like to answer, even if you haven't done it?
I can answer that question. It's quite important one. The assessment of what we do. As the minister said, obviously the Ministry of Education is joined PISA. The PISA exercise, and it's an important exercise to assess also financial education in schools. Although we cannot link directly our work, financial literacy, at least until now, to the results, because obviously the impact of our initiatives has to be assessed on a medium-term perspective. But it's very important to mention that every initiative, we assess the impact of it. Those initiatives that we conduct, we, and when I say we, those that are not teachers, those that are working in schools, because as I said, we are also very often in schools organizing sessions and or implementing awareness campaigns. We assess the impact of each initiative. And in terms of the financial education workbooks, we did also a pilot in assessing the impact of one of the books. We invited one of the schools working with us to use the financial education workbook with students, and then before and afterwards we did an assessment of the impact in order also to be able to understand how the way the subjects were addressing in financial education workbooks, how it was perceived by students and by teachers. And this is this was an important pilot, but we are also, as I said, assessing each initiative to have a broader assessment in terms of the impact of all financial education in schools. I think, in my perspective, it's maybe more a medium-term exercise, because we need to have much more capillarity, and we need to have, obviously, the opportunity to conduct those exercises, which is obviously also quite difficult. But we are very much looking at the impact of the different initiatives we are undertaking.
Thank you so much. And there are lots of questions, and I'm going to turn to the minister here, about how were you able to engage the teachers, and were the teachers on board? And actually somebody asked, are the trade union of the teacher not against it? So, what has been the experience for the teacher, and are there any suggestions for how to make teacher engage, and also, of course, train as well in this topic?
Well, firstly, you spoke about opposition or pushback. I have no knowledge of opposition or any pushbacks regarding the introduction of this financial education in schools. On the opposite, I think that this introduction was welcomed and facilitated by the training provided to teachers. The fact that they had the possibility to be trained was very appealing to them. Some teachers, of course, initially expressed some concerning regarding their lack of preparation on the topic, but I think that very quickly they also recognized the interest of financial education and its importance for the education of school-age children and youngsters. And as I already mentioned, besides the training provided, teacher work is also supported by engaging financial literacy initiatives, a range of different education materials and resources aligned to the curriculum. And I think that they can be used by teachers, by students, of course, by the entire school, which respond to the various needs and the knowledge gaps initially identified. And from the different topics, teachers can also choose to address within the national strategy for financial education. I think that financial literacy and consumer education is one on the top of their preferences. And this means something, because we, as I told you, have global citizenship, European citizenship, citizenship for the risk. We have health citizenship, we have environment citizenship, intercultural citizenship. We have a set of more or less 15 different topics. And this one, financial literacy and consumer education, is, and I want to say again, one of the top topics of their preferences. And it means that, firstly, they feel the importance of this topic, and at the same time, that the ones that are helping them with the materials, with the resources, are doing a good job, because they can be connected with them, and they can improve also their knowledge and skills about this kind of citizenship.
May I add something?
Please.
to stress, this is also my own assessment, that we always are very well received by teachers. And I'd like to mention some examples. The participation of schools and teachers in the financial literacy competition every year is quite important. It's so important, and 2 years ago we decided not only to give a prize to schools, but also to give a prize to the remarkable teacher. Every year we award a teacher by considering the work that teacher is implementing in his or her school. And apart from that, we also have initiatives all along the year. In those initiatives, we see a very high level of participation from schools. And I'm referring to the Global Money Week, for instance. We invite schools to participate in Global Money Week, and we have lots of initiatives, not only conducted by us, but also by the other stakeholders. And it's an initiative. It's not mandatory. They do that because they like to do that. They take time to engage themselves with students on that. And we also have every year our Financial Literacy Week, in which we have the Financial Literacy Day dedicated to schools. We go to schools, the governor of the Central Bank, the head of the CMVM and ASP, the Free Financial Supervisors, and the Ministry of Education and the staff and the cabinet from the ministry to a specific school where we have different initiatives. And at the same time, a large number of schools around the country, they join efforts to participate. We see lots of engagement from schools, and also in terms of materials. In our website, we have different materials that the schools produce by themselves because they want. I think it's quite an engaging topic, and we are very lucky that teachers and students and Ministry of Education are so very much committed to this project.
Thank you very much. We don't have a lot of time, unfortunately, for an additional questions, but I want to say that we have learned a lot today, and I think I want to invite everybody to look at the website, both of the Ministry of Education and of the Central Bank, and the National Committee for Financial Education, their National Plan for Financial Education, for resources, and I can tell you that many of them are in English. And here is an example of a country that has been able to implement financial education in school before the pandemic. So we can all learn from that. And I know that, and I've understood today, that it takes visionary leaders to do financial education in school. And we have seen today that visionary leaders can accomplish a lot. I also want to say that I know that it's not always possible, potentially for other countries, to have a mandate, but all of us can play a role to advocate for financial literacy in school. And I want to say that, for example, at GFLEC, we have designed a tool so everybody who is interested in advocating financial literacy in school, from students to teachers to the community to school administrators, you can, ask to have financial education in school. As you know, in the US, we don't have a national mandate, but state can have and can implement and can encourage financial education in school. This tool is called Fast Lane, and it's called Fast Lane because we want to put students on the fast lane to financial security. As our excellent speaker today have mentioned, financial literacy is a skill necessary to be good citizen, to participate to society, to understand the world around them. And we need to empower the students and the young people so they can better able to build a better future for themselves and for society as well. So Fast Lane is available on our website, www.gflec.org. We are also going to post these webinars so that everybody can continue to learn and can see this excellent example of a country that before the pandemic and taking observation from the previous crisis understood that it is time to provide students the tool and knowledge that is necessary today. The seminar is called Connecting to Reimagine. We need to reimagine the future, and I hope that the future that we will reimagine is going to have financial literacy in the school, not just in Portugal, but in many other countries around the world. Thank you very much for being here today. Thank you to all of our participants as well. And our hope is that we can continue this important work of empowering our youth to be able to be good citizens and to be able to build a good future. Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.